Urban Therapy with Sun 752, and this is your daily go-getterism number 611 for June 5th, 2016. Tonight, we want to talk about Muhammad Ali and his legacy and what his legacy meant to us as him being the greatest and what the greatest meant to us from what he gave to us from him and what we learned about the life of the man who passed away at 74 years of age. Muhammad Ali was more than just an iconic figure, a sports figure. He was more than just a boxer. When you look at his life from the time that he was young, growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, then eventually growing up to win the Olympic medal in the United States, the gold medal in the Olympics for the United States, then going on to win the heavyweight boxing championship of the world from Sonny Liston in 1962. You know, when you watch the life of this man, you see so many things because Muhammad Ali took chances with his career that athletes today would never take chances on. You know, it would have spelled the end of their careers. And he did this at a time when the racial and social climate of the United States was in such a condition to whereas black people were being beaten and had dogs sicked on them, fire hoses turned on them, being strung up and hung from trees, segregated water fountains, bathrooms, restaurants, places where black people could only go and white people could only remain, and the two races weren't allowed to mix together in various parts of the South with Jim Crow. So what Muhammad Ali did at that time by aligning himself with the Nation of Islam was he spoke out against this racial injustice and he took a stance. But what we have more than anything with a man standing for his principles was that he showed other people how to stand up for themselves in the face of adversity and with the risk of losing it all. And through doing that, he managed to gain it all. A boxer who bucked the system because black people weren't encouraged. As a matter of fact, they were discouraged from coming out and basically bragging on themselves, talking about how good they are at their particular craft or sport. And he did that. He called himself the greatest, and he was young, 21, 22 years old. Talking about, I'm the greatest. And he meant it. He wasn't playing. And, from doing that and then being aligned with the Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam and being mentored by Malcolm X, it's more than just calling white man devils and speaking out against the injustices that were perpetrated against black people. It's amazing that he was never assassinated himself. But he was so charismatic that even people who didn't like him liked him. If that makes any sense, and it probably doesn't make any sense. But people who would root for him to lose and he would win, people still to this day, in the wake of his death, are talking about how he dodged the war, the Vietnam War, without remembering the circumstances surrounding why he refused to go in the war. And they suspended him from boxing in the prime of his career for 3 years, and he came back after the 3 years was up fought Joe Frazier and lost, but then beat Joe Frazier another 2 times, beat George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle. And that was the thing about Muhammad Ali. You know, when you talk about the Thriller in Manila, that was in Africa, and the Rumble in the Jungle, that was, well, the Thriller in Manila was in Asia, and the Rumble in the Jungle was in Africa. So, you know, this man was worldwide. This was way before the days of the internet and even international TV. So for people to find out and know who Muhammad Ali was, they had to read newspapers. They had to be abreast of ticker tape, and they really just had to be interested in finding out who somebody was and what they had done and what they would mean to their lives. So Muhammad Ali meant a lot of things to a lot of people, but what he meant to people the most was somebody who believed in what they did, stood for what he believed, and wouldn't compromise. I'm sure he compromised in many ways, but publicly, he didn't look like the type of person who compromised. And he showed other people through that media access that they could stand up and be who they wanted to be. And get away with it, basically, you know? So he was a great man, and we're going to miss him. You know, after he fought his last fight against Larry Holmes in a defeat in 1981, 3 years later he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And unfortunately for people who were born after that time, his legacy is more of a man who deteriorated physically. But he really held on for 30 plus years in the wake of having that Parkinson's disease, and he really, really meant a lot of great things to a lot of great people. And I just wanted to dedicate this video to the man Muhammad Ali, because I miss him greatly, and I've always admired him, and he will always be the greatest. But he was the greatest because not only was he a great boxer, not only was he a great humanitarian, not only was he a great innovator of many things, and not only was he a great champion, but he was the person who allowed us to see the greatness in ourselves. And that's something that you just can't discount. So, rest in peace, champ. You know, we'll all see you when we get there. But hopefully, what your legacy will be is one of those that showed other people how to find the greatness in themselves. Good things happen to those who wait. Great things happen to those who grind. And anything can happen to those who go for theirs. So go hard, go for yours. And remember, when we're talking about Muhammad Ali, you're talking about the greatest ever. And when you're talking about the greatest ever, you can never be great only doing one thing. You can be good at one thing, and you can be the best at one thing. But to achieve greatness, you have to show other people how to be as good or better than they were previously. And he pulled that off. And by that lesson, we can learn that lesson from him, and we can teach that lesson to those of us who need it. And I think we all need a little bit of that. Wouldn't you agree? I'll holler at y'all later. Mind Right Body Better Fitness Program, spring cleaning event, Urban Therapy with Sun 752. The hood is our health. The hood is our health. Peace.